I had a question on my video that I put up yesterday about piano chords, saying I've never been able to find one that shows how to transpose chords. Now this is really important because actually in the real world of playing music, especially out live, you might be doing something with a singer whose range is a bit different. That's really the main reason why you'd need to transpose something. It's really for singers mainly, but of course instrumentalists in other ways, maybe a slightly easier key perhaps. But I'm going to show you how you go about this. Let's have a look. On your other camera here you can see my keyboard here, and I'm going to play a C chord. So I've got a C in the left hand, which is my bass note, and I've got G, C and E in my right hand. Now I could of course have C, E and G. Most people who play a bit of piano would know C major as being that instead. That's fine, it's really the same difference. Now if I just think, okay, well I'm going to play the classic rock and pop chord sequence, C, G, A minor, F, which is 1, 5, 6, 4 in terms of your chords. So you've got C, G, A minor, F. Notice that I've kept the chords together rather than moving up and down. You can see that in my previous video about inverting the chords. So otherwise I'd have this, which just involves wandering about quite a lot instead of the better way to do it, which is this. Very little movement in your chords. So let's say that, I don't know, this is Let It Be. Times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me, "Dipping words of wisdom, let it be." Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's say you've got, I don't know, you have a male student who's learning this, whose voice is just a little bit on the edge. It's not quite fully broken yet, and it's just a bit all over the shop. You may have to lower it slightly, especially with those top notes. Speaking words of wisdom. It may be speaking words of wisdom, let it be. So that means that we've got to transpose it down. Now, how is this going to work then? Well, if we have C, let's try taking everything down a whole step or 2 half steps. Now, C, if I take each of these notes I now get to a B flat major chord. Now, of course, because I've brought the first chord down a whole step, you need to bring all of the other chords down a step as well. So it went C, G, A minor, F. So instead it's going to be B flat, and then you had a G chord, so that's going to have to go down a whole step to an F chord, and then up to G minor, because it was A minor, and then the last chord, which was F, has to be E flat. Now, of course, you have a transpose button on an electric keyboard, but actually you're better off, because you might need to play an acoustic piano, or you're playing an unfamiliar electric piano where you can't find the transpose button, all that sort of thing. So it's worth being able to play in all 12 keys. That is really the ultimate. That means if you're playing acoustic piano, it presents no problem at all. Now with guitar, of course, you can put a capo on and just, step up the fret. If you want to go up, you just put the capo up 2 frets and then you play your same chords and you get that result as well. But for piano, it's not so easy. So I had C, G, A minor, F. And I thought, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me, and when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. So it just makes it easier. I actually felt a bit more comfortable in that key. Now, of course, if you've got a girl singing, you might want to raise it up. So let's go from C, G, A minor, F. Let's go up a tone this time. So my first chord was C. So I need to go up a step. And it is worth taking the time to do those individual steps for each note so that you end up with a D chord. Oh yeah, here we go. D, A, B minor, and G. So this is going up a tone now, up a step. When I found myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Got the chords wrong again. Be, let it be, let it be. So it's too high for me. Now I brought that up maybe for a female singer to sing something. But of course, you know, you can go up or down in any sort of steps. I did a gig once where I wasn't very well. I just had a really sort of bit of a nasty cold and I just wasn't really up for it. But I needed the money. So I said to the rest of the band, guys, is there any chance of just playing everything down a fourth tonight? And they went, yeah, all right then. And actually, I had a really nice time. And some of those tunes actually remained down a fourth because it's just a bit nicer to sing. So if I've got a fourth then, so if I'm starting with a C chord, now a fourth in sort of musical language, a perfect fourth, that's sort of strictly the better terminology, is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones, or 2.5 tones. So if I now have G, now the trouble is with transposing down is that you can end up actually the whole thing sounding a bit too low. When I found myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me. It'd be like putting a record on at the wrong speed. I found myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me. Now, what we're going to have to do then is to make the chords a little bit higher so it doesn't sound like it's dropped, but actually the singer will find it comfortable. So I had a C chord like this. That was my first chord, but I could start with a G that's here. Now the next chord, C to G, G will go down to D, and then E minor and C. Now my chords have actually moved slightly to the right, they've actually moved up slightly, but the bass line has got a bit lower. So you can hide the fact that you've had to transpose it. When I found myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. So that's not much different in piano range to when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary said to me. There's very little difference in the voicing there. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. So when you're transposing chords, while you're sort of learning how to do it, not only should you know what the first chord is that you're playing and also the destination chord. So for example, C to B flat. So C, that's a C chord. If I want a B flat chord, my bass line has had to move down a tone, which means that all of the notes in my chord will also have to follow suit. That's a B flat chord. So remember that chord. So C, you know what C is, and then learn what B flat is. Now, sometimes you have to do this on the fly. Now, this is more tricky for those of you with perfect pitch or absolute pitch, and I am one of those people. So if I play a piano that's out of tune, say I'm playing a piano that's a semitone flat, actually that creates quite a few problems for me because when I play a C, I expect to hear a C chord. So if it's a piano that's a little bit off, it sounds like a B even though it's at this position. So if you do have perfect pitch, or if you have to make sure that your piano is absolutely out of pitch. So there is a little bit of an explanation of how you transpose from one key to another. It's worth trying this out in all keys. So for example, if I want to go to C, if I've got C initially, maybe I want to go down 3 semitones to A. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Now, in terms of the distance between the chords, the intervals remain the same. The distance between all the chords is the same as it was before. You've just had to move everything down. So it's important to learn your intervals. So, for example, at the beginning, C, down to G, which is a fourth, then you go up a tone to A, then you go down 2 tones to F. You could think of this in semitones if you like, because actually that's the smallest gap on a piano, and that may be more helpful, especially when you're transposing from C down a tone. It becomes a B flat. Usually when you move a chord down a tone, it'll go to the next key on the piano because you've got the black keys in between, which is your half step. So going from A minor to G minor to F minor, you know, it's a little bit easier to do than C to B flat. The same thing happens with F. If you've got an F chord and you're transposing down a tone, you'll be going to E flat. Don't worry about all the noises that you're making going between one chord and another, because it just gets you used to playing chromatic scales as well. That is, all of the notes on the piano. So there we are, an explanation for you.